Hello and welcome to a brand new series, A Touch of Class. This series will present something very special for players of D&D 5th edition. New classes. You heard me, I said classes, not subclasses. Of course, subclasses may appear as well, and any class that features in this series will come with its own subclasses as well. Before we move on to the subject of this video, I want to give a disclaimer. Any classes that feature in this series will likely have problems that I will attempt to iron out as they appear. I'm just one guy, and lack the resources to give each time the thorough level of testing normally provided by wizards. If, of course, I learn that a feature needs to be rebalanced, I will do so as soon as possible and state as much in the comments below. With that out of the way, let us move on to the first class, the Morpher. Slowly stalking through the woods, a wolf gently peeks its head through the foliage to see a deer drinking from a pond. With elven eyes, the wolf sees the deer is alone and unaware, and in a moment pounces. The deer jumps back before it sees the wolf and begins to hop on the ground with excitement. The wolf turns back into an elf who pats the deer with a smile and feeds it some blueberries. Taking the form of a beast is something many desire, and there exist many ways for a person to take the form of an animal, such as the polymorph spell, lycanthropy, or even becoming a druid. There are instances where an individual can alter their form with differing methods beyond the norm, who can freely take on the shape of any beast and revert to their true form just as easily. Morphers are individuals who can achieve this power. In a few moments, they can magically alter their appearance and body shape to appear as another creature. Some morphers achieve this power by subjecting their body to the energies of the polymorph spell repeatedly. Some who were afflicted with lycanthropy find that their attempts to remove the curse have left them with a useful side effect. The exact method of how an individual becomes a morpher can be as varied as the forms they take, but once an individual gains this ability, the power of the animal kingdom opens up to them. The transformation process is rarely without flaws, mutations often forming with the morpher and the forms they take, though how the mutation manifests can vary. The skin or hair of a morpher might take on a vibrant colour such as green or pink, and when they transform into an animal, the entire animal is the same colour. Animalistic features such as antlers might sprout from the morpher's head and be adorned by all their forms. It can even be as simple as the morpher's real eyes taking the place of the animal's. Of course, some morphers have negligible mutations. The nature of the mutation may even be a stylistic choice of the morpher, rather than an uncontrollable side effect. But how does the transformation work? All morphers start with the ability to take on a beast shape, similar to a druid's wild shape, but with notable differences. As for similarities, morphers retain their alignment and personality as well as their intelligence, wisdom and charisma scores. They also keep their skill and saving throw proficiencies. Unlike a wild shape, the morpher also retains their constitution score. The biggest difference is their endurance. When a druid takes on the form of a beast, it assumes its hit points. The altered form of a morpher is different in that instead of assuming the beast's hit points, they instead gain temporary hit points equal to half the average hit points of the beast. For example, if a morpher turned themselves into a direwolf, which has a hit point average of 37, they would gain 18 temporary hit points. That is because the hit points of the morpher carry over to each form. Of course, any temporary hit points gained by assuming the form of a beast are lost once the morpher takes their true form. Due to their unstable forms, morphers must keep an eye on their constitution. This especially kicks in if the morpher takes damage whilst in beast shape and they don't have any temporary hit points left. If this happens, they have to make a constitution saving throw or be knocked out of the form. With a few other exceptions, everything else is replaced by the form they take and any natural limitations that form has. Speaking of limitations, weaker morphers will only be able to assume the forms of lesser beasts. There are certain limitations to the forms they could take which grow looser as they get stronger. A beginner Morpher, for example, won't be able to take on any form that can fly or swim, and will have to be either medium or small in size. Once they reach their peak, the only limit is the limits of the forms themselves. The only requirement on what form they can take is that the Morpher must have seen the creature before, or know of it well enough to assume its form. Now, whilst a Morpher may have limits to their forms, they are not helpless without them. A Morpher could shift parts of their body to form natural weapons such as claws, fangs, a tail, or whatever else they can think of. This partial shifting goes stronger, as the Morpher could take on the senses of other animals, such as refined eyes or more sensitive ears, granting new ways to see the environment. More powerful Morphers can even take on the shapes of other humanoids and be so convincing in their altered forms that others believe them to be the real thing. But as the Morpher grows stronger, new powers become available to them in the form of morphic aspects. Each subclass allows the Morpher to delve into specialised powers that vary from each other. Let's take a quick look at each one, starting with the aspect of the elements. Existence as we know it is comprised of 4 elements: water, earth, fire, and air. When combined, we get the world around us, but the balance between them is always shifting. Morphing. By harnessing the very foundations of reality, a Morpher could achieve forms of primordial power. Aspect of the elements allows a Morpher to wield the power of the elements both in and out of their beast shape. As they grow stronger, they can make their forms ignite with primordial flame or become comprised of water. At their peak, they can take on the forms of elemental beings themselves, from the lowly base elementals to the greater forms of the genies. With the aspect of the elements, you can fulfill your dreams of turning into a tiger made of flame or a bear formed from stone. But next up, we have the aspect of the machine.
From the moment I understood the weakness of my flesh, it disgusted me.
Sorry about that. The flesh is fleeting and eventually breaks down. Metal does not. Metal protects. Metal withstands. All beasts contain traces of metal within them. It's just a matter of drawing it out and wearing it like armour, or maybe even turning the flesh itself into metal. The aspect of the machine tickles that Transformer's itch by letting you take on mechanical elements. Starting with metallic plating, each level grants the Morpher further evolution by hardening the metal that coats their body and soon comprises it. Soon the ability to become fully mechanized will be available and the ascendancy into the machine will be complete. But what if you want to be more monstrous? That's where the aspect of the monster comes in. Nature is scary. In a world where the only rule is survival of the fittest, it becomes inevitable that the strongest are monsters who wield fear. If you want to survive in this world, you must become a monster yourself and establish yourself as a force of nature. Savagery and fear are tools that you can use. The very act of shapeshifting is unnatural. To take the form and twist it into another could be a process many consider disturbing, and the aspect of the monster runs with that. When taking the form of a beast, these Morphers can make their forms more feral. This savagery can be used to inflict great fear on their prey, allowing them to use the savage form for a more brutal kill. As these monsters grow stronger, they can elongate their limbs, scuttle around like the monsters under the bed, heal at a quickened rate, and tear into their targets with greater ferocity. Of course, some may view the features of this aspect as just the end point of natural evolution, but many a Morpher who gain this aspect are far from natural. But what about Morphers who wish to harness great strength? That is where the aspect of the Titan comes in. Sorry, I got distracted again. Giants are known and feared across the world. Their immense size and strength allows them to turn kingdoms into rubble and feast upon the people inside. Fighting these titans off takes great effort for many, but perhaps in this instance, the answer may be to fight fire with fire. The aspect of the titan lets a Morpher take on a unique form known simply as a giant form. This unique form stands tall and strong. As the Morpher grows stronger, so does their giant form, as they can wield enlarged weapons or release explosions of thunder with a clap. A greater form lies in wait, known as the titan form. This greater version of the giant form allows the Morpher to use the power of the titans, using their great strength to affect the land around them. But where there are giants, there is also another. Here be dragons. Here be the aspect of the Wyrm. In the hierarchy of the animal kingdom, few things dominated environments like a dragon. Covered in scales as hard as iron, boasting wings that grant incredible speed, and wielding the power to exhale the elements, it's obvious why they stand on top. If you can find the hidden path, you might be able to take on their aspects and ascend to dragonhood yourself. Dragons are an ever-present entity in the world, and that means that they have a distant tie to the animal kingdom despite their differing nature. Morphers who tap into the aspect of the Wyrm find that they can take on draconic elements in the forms they take. Due to the vast number of different dragons, the Morpher can draw upon any of them so long as they are true dragons. In time, they can expel the breath weapon of a dragon and sprout their wings even whilst in their true form. At their peak, they can make the full transformation into dragonhood, taking on the form of any true dragon of the young or wormling stage as if it were another beast form. The ability to transform into a dragon is something many people have wanted, and now they can. Whilst other morphic aspects might later be discovered, the current 5 should offer a wide range of options. The Morpher is an exciting class that allows you to wield the power of beasts in a way that the Moon Druid only teased. But with that, we reach the end of today's video. The PDF detailing the full Morpher class is available on Dungeon Masters Guild at the high price of pay what you want. That's right, you can get this class for free, but if you're feeling generous, you can pay whatever you feel it is worth. I hope you all have a great day, and may your dice roll favourably. Goodbye for now.